I followed one meal a day successfully for over 7 years. And you always ask me, what do I eat while following one meal a day? So today, I'm gonna break down exactly what I'm eating for my one meal so I can make it really simple for you. So let's get started, but before we do, I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski, and I started my holistic health practice in order to help you take control of your health naturally, because true health only comes naturally. I also want to mention I started a brand new community for the Wellness Warriors. If you want to join the Wellness Warrior community, text this number right here and you're in. When I first started doing OMAD, quite frankly, it wasn't even popular. Nobody even knew what it was. And if you were doing it, you were probably some type of weirdo. But now it's become wildly popular, and the bad part is there's a lot of bad advice that is surrounding this topic. There was this individual I was taking care of, and they proudly told me, hey, I'm doing one meal a day and it's working out so great. And they started explaining to me how they do it, and they said the best part about it is I can eat whatever I want and I can still lose weight. I was like, whoa, hold up, you eat whatever you want. What are you talking about? They're like, oh yeah, you can eat pizza on it, you can drink soda, you can eat a lot of dessert, you can eat whatever you want and you can still lose weight. And I was like, just because you can doesn't necessarily mean you should. Because here's a question I have for you. Skinny people still get cancer, don't they? Using one meal a day as a crutch for a poor diet is always a bad idea. Many internet publications and different influencers have taught that you can eat a poor quality diet and it's still following proper method, proper protocol. I always teach people that eating healthy is far more important than implementing an intermittent fasting strategy. You have to learn how to eat properly first before doing OMAD if you want to have good success with it. With one meal a day, it's also important to make sure that you're eating proper calories. I get dozens of messages from people that say, I love one meal a day because it allows me to cut my calories really low. It's important to realize that one meal a day is a strategy in which you're compressing your eating window. It is not a starvation technique. There was one lady I was working with, and she was so proud of how she was doing on OMAD, and the problem that she was facing is that she hit a weight loss plateau. And this was one of the reasons she was seeking me out. When I looked at her calories and what she was actually eating on OMAD, she was all the way down to 900 calories a day, and she had been eating like that for almost 2 months. What she had successfully done is crushed her metabolism. It's so important to make sure that you dial in the proper amount of calories that you need and then stick with it. And I'll show you exactly how I'm doing it here in just a moment. But one of the ways that you can think about it is if you eat too much, you'll gain weight. If you eat the correct amount, you'll stay at the same weight. If you go in a small calorie deficit, you'll lose weight. If you go on a huge calorie deficit for a long period of time, you'll crush your metabolism. Let me take you through my day, start to finish, so you can truly understand the process. Today I woke up at 5 a.m., got my workout in. Working out is just very important for me, so I always like to get that in first thing in the morning. Now, as far as what I consumed, I did lots of water and also electrolytes. The electrolytes that I used are by Celerity. It's Electrolyte Plus. If you're somebody who's following a low-carb diet and also doing fasting, then you will likely 100% need electrolytes if you're combining that with good exercise. Now, I'll put a link to this one in the description that I use. It's a good balanced one that not only helps with exercise performance, but also gives you that proper hydration. After this, I typically just go on throughout my day, making sure I get proper hydration once again. It's very easy if you're busy throughout the day that you can fall into this category that because you're not eating, you also don't drink enough water. It's very easy to become dehydrated. I've done that multiple times. I'm very physically active, so therefore it's a big problem for me, and I typically get a good reminder that I did this when I wake up in the middle of the night with a splitting migraine. Throughout the day, I typically drink about 2 half cups of coffee. Coffee can not only give you a little bit of boost mentally and just physically, but the other thing that coffee can do for you is it can help blunt hunger if you're somebody who's getting a little bit of hunger pains throughout the day. Beyond that, the only other thing I typically will use is sparkling water. That works really good too to help you feel satiated if you're getting a little bit of cravings throughout the day. When formulating your meal plan, it's so important to make sure that we get good diversity within our food. Let's face it, many of us are creatures of habit, and as a creature of habit, we tend to pattern our meals, and we eat the same thing day in and day out. And I get why we're just trying to simplify this whole process, but we want to make sure that we have diversity within our meals. We got lots of leafy greens. We want to make sure that we're getting the proper vitamins, nutrients, minerals that we need in order to have a good, healthy body. The other thing we want to do is make sure that we're eating healthy, whole food. This is very important. I had one lady who came to me and she was like, you know what, my biggest struggle with one meal a day is the cravings I get. It's so bad, and then I just want to give up. Well, when I looked at the foods that she was eating, it happened to be a lot of carbohydrates and a lot of sugar, and a lot of course, not so healthy foods beyond that. Well, the problem here with her in particular is that she was getting symptoms of hypoglycemia because she was blasting her blood sugar so high during her meals with all the sugar she was eating that when she was in that fasted state, she was coming down off it and dipping into hypoglycemia and getting dizziness and shaking and, of course, not feeling well at all. The other thing that we have to be aware of is this. Many of us are doing one meal a day because we want to use it as a health strategy. We're not doing it because we couldn't think of any other way to eat. Most of us are trying to lose fat, maintain muscle, but also use it as a way to keep us healthy day in and day out. What we want to make sure that we're doing if we want these good results is that we have to cut sugar pretty much down to nothing. We want to go as close to sugar-free as possible, because fact is that you can't burn fat for energy and burn sugar for energy at the same time. We have to pick one. If we want to burn fat for energy, we have to ditch the sugar. So let's go ahead and break down today the exact foods I'm going to eat so you can get a true understanding of this. First, I'm going to start off with steak fajitas. Now, the steak fajitas is going to be the main portion of my meal. I have about 1,000 calories here. My goal is to hit 2,200 calories today. In these steak fajitas, we got avocado, so we got a good fat. There's steak, so we got protein in there, there's cheese, and there's also veggies. These wraps that I'm using are specifically designed to be low carb wraps, so there's hardly any carbohydrates in this particular part of the meal. Moving on, we have some cauliflower rice, which is going to be sauteed in butter, lots of good spices in it. I have a salad. We have lots of diversity with the greens. We have some spinach in here. We have cucumbers. We have carrots. Also, there's romaine lettuce in there as well. On top, it's topped with some cheese crisp. Now, as far as dressing, I am using a Primal Kitchen Green Goodness avocado oil dressing. The Primal Kitchen is always a safe way to go if you want a little bit of diversity in your dressing. Over here is I have a bone broth based soup. This is a chicken tortilla soup. It also is topped with cheese. And then over here, I have some keto pumpkin bars. Now, I know what you're thinking. How does he expect me to eat like this? I don't have hours to spend in the kitchen. Truth is, this is not hours in the kitchen. A lot of this is leftovers. This was put together today, okay, to have a nice fresh salad, and these were put together today. What you're gonna find when eating healthy, you're cooking your own meals. When you're cooking your own meals, you're always gonna have leftovers. So you're able to kind of just make a little bit of a hodgepodge of a meal, throw it together, and eat really good and eat really healthy. Now, my goal here is to eat high fat, moderate protein, and low carbohydrate. My goal isn't necessarily to eat a ketogenic diet here. That's not my concern at this point in my life. It's not that you should or you shouldn't. It's just really about how you feel comfortable. Overall, I'm hitting, like I said, 2,200 calories. I am putting myself in a little bit of a calorie deficit right now. If I was hitting my normal calories, I'd be somewhere right around like probably 2,600 calories in order to hit basically maintenance calories for me. We have to realize that even though we're eating one meal, it is possible that we could overeat. And if we're overeating on one meal a day, we still won't lose weight. We want to make sure, as I mentioned before, we aren't undereating in a huge way for a long period of time. We aren't overeating. We want to be hitting maintenance calories or coming in at a small deficit to help us lose a little bit of fat, lean up a little bit if that's what we're trying to accomplish. As far as these meals go, it's very important for them to be healthy. And I think that this style of eating gives you a greater appreciation for food. Many people graze all day long and they just don't even think about the foods they're eating. They just constantly shove foods in their mouth. But when you're eating one meal a day and you eat slow and you really just slow down, appreciate the flavors and appreciate the food that you're eating, you build a better relationship with food. And a lot of people have a very poor relationship with food, which is why they have a problem with being overweight, why they have a problem with, binge eating foods they shouldn't be eating. We have to make sure that we have good psychology around food. The other thing I want to mention is that with this meal, this will typically stretch out maybe over an hour and a half, 2-hour period. I'm going to fast for 22 hours, eat all of my meals within a 2-hour period. Now, if you want to learn more about the exact food pyramid that I follow when it comes to doing OMAD, watch this video right here. We're talking about the 1 meal a day food plan. Based on our comments and questions that we get here, I can see that a lot of people are really struggling with this and people need a little bit more in-depth information. So that's what we're going to cover today.